It's our first video. I need some like really cool intro. That'd be awesome. Okay guys, hi, it's Miss Hagen. And we're going to be talking about the second part of biodiversity today. It's super exciting. Yay. Okay, so this is the master challenge, and I know I told some of you guys, uh-oh, here comes my cat. May, I'm in the middle of something. You need to go. That's my cat, May. Back to where we were. So I think I told some of you guys about the master challenge. And at the beginning of every one of these, there is going to be a master challenge, and it's kind of like a probe where I'm not looking to see if you're right or wrong. It's kind of to see what you know and how well you know it. This one actually relates back to what we talked about last class, which are the 3 different levels of biodiversity, and kind of touched on how they're related to each other. So go ahead and hit pause. I think May's coming back around. Okay, good. She laid down. Go ahead and hit pause and answer this in that Word document. Okay, so that should have been super easy. So this is going to have 3 different sections in it, just to make it kind of easier for all of us. This first one is called the 6th mass extinction. So there have been 5 mass extinctions that we know about. And right now we are currently in the midst of the 6th mass extinction. Okay, so some of the reasons why we are in the midst of a mass extinction is because of the loss of genetic diversity. We went over genetic diversity last class and talked about the importance of it and the different unique things about genetic diversity. Now, a lot of the problem with this is because once you lose a lot of diversity, you start having inbreeding taking place, and there's a certain like vocab word that is inbreeding depression, and this is when you have basically you have species that start to develop really bad mutations and really bad diseases, and everyone's getting sick, and the next generation's not moving on because they're all dying really young because they are being inbred. And so when this happens, you know, that is very bad. That is not good. That causes a lot of species to go extinct because the diseases and the weird mutations that occur. Now, some of the decrease in genetic diversity is natural. It just naturally happens. And one example of that is the cheetah. So the cheetah is this one that I'm circling right now. There it is. Aren't they cute? I got a mama and her babies. So there's a cheetah, and the cheetahs, scientists believe that the cheetahs experience like a major, what we call a bottleneck. So that's like a thinning of their population, and that about 10,000 years ago, and that's what caused their genetic variation to be so small, that are limited. But some of these things happen because of us, humans. And one of those is the Florida panther. So the Florida panther is this one right here. I'm going to draw a cool arrow. I'm getting so much better with this. A boom, and bazinga. There it is. That arrow is ballin'. That is a Florida panther. There are very few of these things left. There's probably around less than 500 of them left in the wild, if that. They became very close to being extinct because of human activity and the fact that there is, one second. Okay, just had to deal with my fur baby. Okay, anyway, so the Florida panther had a very huge loss of habitat, and a lot of them died out because of that, and now there's only a select few that can breed, and so that is a very small genetic diversity. So that can cause species to go extinct or to become endangered. Now, with extinction just doesn't happen like overnight, okay, unless it's like the dinosaurs, right, with the asteroid comet thing that hit Earth. What happens with extinctions here, we can categorize a major extinction that there's at least 75% of all of the species die. Okay, and it happens within a 2 million year span. And 2 million years, that sounds like a lot to us, but geologically speaking, that's like nothing. So what we have to do is to understand the fact that we are actually experiencing an extinction period is to look at all of the species that we know of and place them into several categories. So there's 4 categories. Okay, they're either extinct, threatened, near threatened, or they are the least concern. So extinct, they're gone, they're dead, right? That's an extreme. Threatened, they're at a high risk of becoming extinct. Near threatened, they'll probably become threatened pretty soon. Okay, and then least concern, we're not worried about them. Like, they're doing fine. So you can see there's this pie chart, 3 pie charts down here at the bottom of the slide, and you can see that the green is the least concern, yellow is near threatened, and like this pink red color is threatened. And when we look at this, we look at this data, we know that the amphibians are the ones that are experiencing the largest decline. They have been, because they're such delicate creatures. They live part of their lives in the water and part of their lives on land. So if something goes wrong with one of those, they're kind of screwed. It's the nature of the amphibian, right? So what causes this declining biodiversity? What causes diversity or biodiversity to go down? Okay, well, first and foremost is habitat loss. Them species losing places where they live. You guys made your postcards about hotspots, and a lot of those species that are endemic, those are the ones that they are only found in that area. And so when that area comes under threat or when it's gone, then they don't have anywhere else to live and they die. And it's really sad, but this is true. And so one particular example of this is the northern spotted owl. The northern spotted owl used to be very abundant. It lives in what we call old growth forests, which is like trees, like the redwood trees in California. These are trees that are like hundreds of years old. And the owl would live in these trees, but those trees are also awesome for cutting down and using to build stuff out of. So that happened. It went through a major deforestation, and because of that, the northern spotted owl's population went way, way, way down. It's not extinct, but it's endangered still. So deforestation is a major threat to habitats and a major thing that happens with habitat loss. Then you have coral reefs that they're dying. And, you know, when a coral reef goes away, then the fish and stuff that lives in that coral reef, they don't have anywhere to go. Okay, so they end up dying out too. And then the last part that I have here is habitat fragmentation, and that's when we come in and we like break up the habitat. Like we may go in and like say, oh, well, we're gonna put a shopping mall in this area, but the habitat's on both sides of it. It still causes issues for animals, and they lose their habitat because now they got to go through that shopping mall, and that's not going to be very good. Okay, this graph that's on this slide, this has to do with the amount of coral in the ocean, specifically looking at the Caribbean coral reef. You can see that the y-axis, which is up and down, that is the percent of the live coral in that area, and then the x-axis is the year, and you can see how dramatically it has gone down. It is a lot. Okay, no bueno. And then the next thing that is a huge threat to species is the exotic species. Exotic species also are known as alien species. So exotic species are species that are not normally found in that area or that region. An example of this is the honeybees in North America. Those were brought over back like in the 1600s by like the Dutch. Okay. Now the species that are not exotic, those are native species. And that makes sense because when you think about it, like what's something else that you know that has the word native in it? Like Native Americans, like they're the ones who were here, right? The rest of us are all immigrants, whether we want to be or not. So a native species is a species that lives in that area, has always lived in that area. They have been there for thousands of years, hundreds of thousands of years. That's where they live. That's their place, okay? what ends up happening is these exotic species can become invasive species. And when it becomes an invasive species, that's when it becomes very, very bad, okay? One of those that we may all be familiar with, kudzu, is this right here. You see that on the side of the road a lot of times, right? Some people may have that in their yard. Kudzu is a vine that was brought over from Japan, I believe, back like in the 20s and 30s to try and eliminate erosion because it grows anywhere. It grows really fast. Problem, it grows anywhere and it grows really fast. It kind of took over in certain areas. It climbs up the trees, it takes over, kills the trees. It's not good. It's a very bad species. Bad species. Okay. Another one is the zebra mussels. So the zebra mussels are in the Great Lakes. These were accidentally like brought in, and they are like taking out all the native species that would normally be there. There are like no competition for them. And then the last one that I'm going to mention is the silver carp. So the silver carp, first off, he looks like kind of like a dumb fish, but it is it's also in the Great Lakes, and it's causing major issues because it's like taking out and killing other fish that would normally be there, and it is just like silver carp everywhere. These are just 3 examples of invasive species. There are so many examples of this, and this is why, like, if you travel out of the country, you are not allowed to bring certain things back. You're not supposed to anyways, because it can become an invasive species and it can be really horrible. Can you guys think of any? There's one that I thought of that is a certain snake that I think it's the boa constrictor that's in the Everglades. It's not supposed to be there, but people buy these snakes and then they get too big and they release them out into the Everglades. That's not a good move. Not a good move, okay? And then the last one here that we're going to talk about is overharvesting. So when you harvest something, like that's when you gather it, right? So overharvesting is when you gather too much of it. Like, we consider something to be overharvested if you take too much of it before the species can like repopulate or like recoup from that being taken. So I've got 4 species on here that have experienced overharvesting. One is the dodo. Okay, I'm going to put a check mark on the dodo. Boop, that's the dodo. Okay, the dodo, apparently, all right, I was reading about the dodo because it's extinct, all right, and the dodo was living on some islands, and apparently pirates and like sailors would like stop off at the islands to like just like get off the boat, like have a good time, and dodos were not scared of humans because they had never seen humans before. And so the sailors would kill them and eat them, okay, because it was very easy for them to do that. The dodos, so because of that, the dodos never like would run away. They would just be like, oh, it's a human, and then the human would kill it and eat it. Another problem that happened was when the sailors got there, like mice and rats got on the island, just I guess from being on the ship and like getting on the boats, going to the land, that kind of thing, and they would eat the dodo's eggs. So from the first time that man was recorded to seeing the dodo, it was 80 years. In 80 years, the dodo went extinct. Okay, and that is because, mostly because it was overharvested and could not recuperate from that because the mice and rats were eating its eggs. Another one is the American bison. I'm going to put a star by it. Boom, 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 boom. That was not bad for using that. So the American bison is not extinct. It has been endangered. I'm not quite sure if it's still endangered. It may be threatened now. But it was almost overharvested. People just killed the bison to like kill bison, like for sport and stuff. And they would just leave them there. There used to be a whole bunch of bison in the Great Plains and things like that, but then, you know, it became kind of fun to go out and kill a bison, like, hey, did you kill a bison today? You know, that kind of thing, and they were over-harvested, and so now they are protected, and it is a lot more difficult for that to happen. Another is the passenger pigeon, and I'm going to do a heart by the passenger pigeon. Bloop. Oh, this is difficult. Okay. That's a pretty okay heart, if I do say so myself. Kind of looks like a butt. But anyways, so the passenger pigeon is kind of the same thing as the American bison. The passenger pigeon lives in America. It still does. It's not extinct, but it was almost like hunted out to extinction. People used to eat passenger pigeons, so if you can imagine eating a pigeon, but they would eat these things back in the day, and they hunted them down, and we're just trying to, like, you know, eat some pigeon. And then the last one is the giant ground sloths, and these were taken out by us, by humans, and I'm not quite sure when, but they were not scared of humans either, and like once we ran into them, we started, like, you know, killing them and eating them and stuff. And those poor sloths, like, those things are huge, and I bet they were just really nice and cuddly. Like, that's what they look like, you know? Anyways. Okay, so this is our last little section, which is conservation of biodiversity. So what are we doing to conserve biodiversity? So there's been a lot of legal action. Now, there's two main laws in the United States that protect animals and plants that may become endangered, or to keep them from going to extinction. So the first one is the Marine Mammal Protection Act. So this one is protecting things like whales, mostly whales, but, you know, like dolphins and stuff like that. And so basically what it does is it prohibits people from killing these marine mammals in the United States, and it prohibits the import, so us bringing in parts and us exporting, like giving out parts of any marine mammal body parts. So that means this is mostly to stop, like, killing the whales, and to, like, limit that, because we almost got to the point where we had over-harvested whales, and this is a huge issue with Greenpeace. And, like, there's even been TV shows made where, like, it's like they're environmental pirates, and they, like, go and get on whale killing ships and, like, raid them and all this kind of stuff. It's crazy. But that is a huge deal, and that is definitely a law that is enforced. Another one that you guys know about, whether you realize it or not, is the Endangered Species Act, and this came about in 1973, and it's a law designed to protect species from extinction. So basically it categorizes species as either endangered or threatened. So endangered is a species that is probably going to go extinct really soon if we don't do anything about it. And threatened is that they are likely to become endangered. So with this, this law came about because of, like, bald eagles and DDT. And I believe I've told some of you guys about this, but that was when the bald eagles were almost going extinct because they had gotten a lot of DDT in their bodies, and the shell of their eggs was not strong enough to support them when they were trying to incubate it, and they would sit on it and crush it and kill their babies. It's so sad. So anyways, you know, we almost lost, like, our nation's bird. It was not good. But this law came about to help prevent that and to help save these animals. So now we're at the end. You made it. Congratulations. Woo! Now you need to do the quick check. So there are 4 questions here, and I talked about these things in the PowerPoint, and there's also, you know, some of them are written out in the PowerPoint, so make sure that you go through and you answer them on your Word document. It's been great, guys. Can't wait till the next one. Maybe I'll have a super duper cool intro. Maybe not. Who knows? Stay tuned.